All right, fantastic. Welcome everyone to our personal branding in the job market session featuring our very awesome Eric Jones from Rocket. And I'm so excited you guys are here. This session is part of our fall Career Quest. If you don't know, we do Career Quest about 3 times a day where we have a whole month filled with lots of different sessions like the one that you're going to hear today. So if you haven't yet, please make sure afterwards, hit handshake, look at what other sessions are coming up. This month is pretty packed and they are all for you and for your career journey. All right, well, with that intro out of the way, Eric, I'm going to turn things over to you and I'll let
Sounds
you
good.
introduce yourself and rock it.
Sounds good. So first off, thank you for having me. We're going to learn a little bit about something that I'm sure you guys all are familiar with. We just have some different terminology, and we're going to have a little bit of fun. So I'm going to be looking. You're going to see me looking a lot of different ways. I have a couple of different monitors in front of me, so I want some participation. On the screen, you see a QR code. If you have not already and you just joined, I know that the link is also in the chat. Please, please, please either click on the link in the chat or use your cell phone or mobile device and fill out the information on the QR code. This is so detrimental. This is your entry, right? This is the way that you can say, hey, here's the opportunities I'm interested in within Rocket, especially after hearing what we're going to talk about a little bit today. But then also, it's a way to tie you to the organization based off of events that you've attended and get you a step closer to being able to get in front of a recruiter and hopefully a hiring leader from there. So I'll give a few minutes, let people either find the link in the chat or use your mobile device and scan the QR code, and then we'll jump into personal brand and the job market. Everybody, 2 more seconds. 2, 1. Fantastic. So a little bit of an agenda today. So I've introduced myself, talk a little bit about my tenure and kind of where I'm at here in this employment journey of myself. We're going to talk a little bit about Rocket. There's a cool video I'm going to show you. Hopefully you'll be able to hear it, fingers crossed. Then we're going to dive into how to build your reputation, your image, and then market yourself, right? That's where we're really going to be looking for some of that feedback and that communication interaction back and forth. And then fourth, we're going to talk about what is your brand, how to build the brand, and then we're going to talk about really how to connect and use that networking component to really help get you to where you want to be. All right. So here we go. First things up. I'm Eric Jones. I know that I had a little bit of an introduction already. I'm a senior talent relationship manager. Had the pleasure of being here at this organization now at Rocket for 18 years, right? So a lot of places you take that and you double it, right? So really more than my time frame here. It's been fantastic. It's taught me business. It's taught me a chance to kind of come in and stretch a little bit, right? Get out of my comfort zone. The role that I'm in right now is building partnerships and pipelines and trying to lead people to the talent foundation that they're looking for based off of the skills that they have, how they're looking to grow, and where they want to be long term as well as short, right? So, further ado, we're going to start off and I'm going to show you just a quick video. In February, as an organization, we changed our scope. We used to be called Rocket Companies, right? For those of you that may have heard us from that type of branding, Rocket Companies. What I'm going to show you, fingers crossed, as long as the video does play, is when we came out in February during the Super Bowl, we had a commercial that talked about Rocket, our brand, owning the dream and helping everyone home. So we'll see if this will play for us. And then we'll talk a little bit about it. Oh no, come on, play for me. One more try. You know what? We're going to do it a different way. Unfortunately, this one's not going to play, but here's what I will do. I will make sure this gets sent out to an email to everybody that's here, that's joining the call today, so you can take a look at it. For those of you that may not have ever seen that commercial, what it really focuses on is Rocket rolling itself out as being a one-stop shop for everything that you need when it comes to financing, right? And you'll hear possibly throughout this presentation, but through other presentations, the own the dream mantra, right? And what that really means. For each individual, it could be different, right? So owning the dream could be getting yourself in a spot where maybe you land an internship. Maybe you land a fantastic job after graduation, right? Maybe you've already in the workforce and you're looking for an industry switch or an industry change or a company change. And it's like, man, I don't want to start all over, right? Our organization, based off of the slide that's in front of you guys right now and the different companies, this is the scope and this is really what makes up Rocket. So when you think about Rocket and that name and that brand recognition, that is we're in home and finance, we're in home sales and search. We have a media arm that you see here with Core Digital and Lower My Bills. We also have this auto and personal finance. And then we have client service and then some tech solutions, right? So you look at this and you say, wow, if I apply to an opportunity within Rocket's ecosystem, I could be landing a role in any of these organizations you see here on the screen. So you think about those that might be looking for something in the technology world. You think about those that might be looking something in the sales and marketing world. I'm showing you all of this to kind of focus back on that brand, right? As an organization, we rebranded ourselves. We came out to really say, okay, that halo that you see, if you look at it, it looks kind of like an R, looks like a person turned to the side, sort of. That emblem, that symbol, right? That's our new recognition, right? You'll see that symbol or that halo, and then you'll see everything else that follows. So you'll see the halo and then Rocket Mortgage, the halo, Rocket Close, and so forth and so on. That's where we're trying to identify with our clients as that R, that halo that you see, that's you as an individual. And we're coming to meet you wherever you are at that particular time. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about one organization, and you'll hear more about this, but it's an organization on the screen that's called Redfin. Redfin is part of a new organization merger that we've had where Redfin is now part of Rocket's ecosystem. Redfin focuses on the real estate world, essentially, right? The buying and selling of homes and real estate agents that come with that. It is kind of like the Zillow of that I'm looking to buy a home foundation, right? Redfin is there along with some of those other competitors and partners. Then you have Rocket in the middle. And then there's another acquisition that's going to happen. And I don't want to spoil it, but now we're going to be taking care of some things on the servicing arm. So now when you think about Rocket, we are able to help you with that owning the dream and the dream of home ownership from the beginning to the process to the end of the process, which is very, very important to us as a company and as an ecosystem, being able to help people the entire way through the process. So I'm going to pause and see if there's any questions in the chat that I can come back to. And thank you so much for posting the commercial. So thank you, thank you, thank you. That's what I was going to show you, but I'm glad it's there for you to kind of click on and watch at your leisure too as well. So I'll pause for a second to see if there's any questions about some of the opportunities that you see, or organizations, I should say, that make up Rocket. All right, with that being said, nothing in the chat. We're going to keep going. When you think about geographically, where's Rocket, right? Because I know we looked in the chat, we see people from a lot of different places throughout the United States. Rocket as an organization has three main locations, and that's going to change, right? Just based off of some of the acquisitions and company mergers and those type of things that I mentioned earlier. Right now, our headquarters is in Detroit, Michigan, right? So I work out of our Detroit-based location. We have a Cleveland, Ohio location, and we have a Phoenix, Arizona. We also do some things across the water into Canada. And now with Redfin, we're going to be out in Seattle, so we're going to have that foothold. And the other organization that we're still in litigation and finalizing the deal is with an organization by the name of Mr. Cooper, and they are located in Texas. So now when you think about us as an organization, we're spread out enough all over the United States to really make an impact and help individuals, right? So when you think about opportunities, we're still in a hybrid model. So depending on the business area that you're looking to work in or that you're a part of, will determine how often you physically go into an office. We have some remote-based opportunities, and then we have some opportunities where you're in the office a little bit more than maybe those individuals that have a little bit more flexibility based off of their job responsibilities and duties. I tell you all of that to let you know that when you think about branding yourself and your personal brand, our organization has really been very intentional about the direction, the vision, and then the growth opportunity for those that work for us, and then the clients that fit in. So thinking about all of this, right? You're like, okay, so that's fantastic. That's how an organization does it, right? And you see that mission of home ownership, right? As you watch that video, this will definitely tie into it. When you think about, okay, so what does that have to do with me? I'm trying to get to that component, right? So I wanted to show you how an organization brands and it changes its brand and it can change its brand frequently. So now let's think about ourselves, right? How do you brand and build a reputation, an image? And then how do you market that, right? So I'm going to pause because that's actually a question for the group. I want to see some the chat blow up a little bit, or feel free to come off mute and let's talk a little bit. But how do you think your reputation, your image, and the marketing of yourself affects your growth opportunity, landing an opportunity with an organization to begin with? And remember, I can see names, right? I can see who's participating.
Allison, you raised your hand. You feel free to
Go
come
right
off.
ahead. Yeah, go right ahead. I see innovation in the chat. Yes, absolutely. Integrity. Yep. What else? What do you want to be known as, right? What's the jersey on what's the name on the back of the jersey represent? Let them know your skills. Yeah. Resume, LinkedIn, recognition. I want to be known as the best. I love that. We'll look at a few more. Yeah, unfortunately, Allison, it wasn't. That's okay. First impressions are everything. Yeah. Branding yourself. I love that question that you put in the chat there, Lisa. Thank you for sharing. Right, that's an interesting question. Is there anything that is going to damage the image of the organization? Right, I like that. Let's start there. Right, so I mentioned earlier you're playing for the name on the back. Right, the name on the back is your name. That's the name that you represent, the lineage that you present and bring to the table. Not only the skill set, but who you are as an individual. Usually the name on the front, as you can even tell from the shirt I'm wearing, I think if you can still see me, right? It says Rocket. It doesn't say Eric's team. It doesn't say Jones, right? It says Rocket. So I'm representing an organization, but on the back, my preparedness, how I present myself, my image, that's representing myself, which directly is tied to the name on the front. So that's a fantastic question and a comment. So thank you very much. I believe it was Lisa. So as we go through this thing, right? What is your brand, right? So I'm going to read this super, super quick and I might summarize it. But the personal brand is the practice of people marketing themselves and their careers as brands, right? Well, previous self-help management techniques are about self-improvement. The personal branding concept suggests that success comes from self-packaging. I love that last part of that sentence, right? Success comes from self-packaging. Think about something, a purchase, a widget, an item that you've purchased recently. And you may have bought it because of the way that it looked. It kind of gave you maybe a sense of of status. It may have given you a sense of feeling good or giving you a positive vibe where you were willing to spend money on it, right? So the packaging a lot of times is everything. So when you think about your brand is your personal packaging. That's the resume, how you approach, how you dress for an interview, how you respond to a question, how you really carry yourself when we're talking specifically about the vetting process, right? All those things attached to the brand, right? So I have a couple of different brands I'm going to throw up on the screen, and I want to get a feel for who do you guys think that these brands are and who they represent, maybe who created the brands, right? So the first one is this big O looking like someone's like cursive writing of some sort, right? In the chat, can anyone tell me who they think that this logo or this brand is representing? Okay, so we see Oprah, we see W. Okay, all right. So here's the fun part, right? I see Oprah again. I'm going to make you all wait until the end when they pop up, right? So this first one, so we got a lot of Oprahs and we think that this could be Oprah. So let's see. What about this middle one? Right? It looks like a person's holding something in their hand, like they're jumping. Maybe they're hurtling over something. Who do we think that is? Okay, I see a lot of Jordans in the chat. Okay, all right, pretty confident. And I got one more for you. Looks like a half-bitten fruit, half-bitten, maybe an apple of some sort. Who is that? Who represents that brand? So yes, you're right. It is the Apple brand, but who's the person behind it? Okay, I see Nike, Jordan. Okay, Steve. All right, Steve Jobs. Let's see how well we did, right? So we got Oprah for the first one. So those that put you in there, perfect. We got Michael Jordan for the second one. And then we got Steve Jobs. Here's the cool thing. I showed you an image. One is maybe a handwriting of Oprah, right? Next one is a jump man or a person with holding a basketball, and one's a half-bitten fruit. Think about how powerful those logos or symbols are, that you didn't need to see anything else and you knew who each one of those individuals was, right? That's pretty powerful. Now think about your brand. And when you walk into a room or you send a resume or you have a conversation, either verbal, nonverbal, or through text, what type of brand or what type of logo do you have? Right. And that's a question for the group, not necessarily something for our chat, but I want you to think about it. That's what today is designed for, right? Think about the brand that enters a room maybe before you get there. Okay. Or that perception, I think someone else put in the chat. Right. So as we dive into this, what is your personal brand? Start to think about I know we put in the chat, those keywords, things that you want to be known for, right? But think about outside of that, what is your brand, right? So, few questions I'm going to ask, and I want you to think about them. But this first one I'm going to ask, I want you guys to put some things in the chat, right? What do you want your personal brand to be? So this is almost like a rhetorical question. I asked something similar, but I want to see, what do you want your personal brand to be? Maybe not what your brand is. What do you want it to be? Everybody's in thought. Here we go. Thanks, Brad. The best in cybersecurity. Love it. Problem solver. Thank you, Basil. Something that gives people the relaxed feeling. I like that. Charisma, right, Christina? Tenacious. Love it. Go getter. Controlling your own attitude. I love that too as well, Katrina. Anyone else? There we go. Top MLO at Rocket. I love that. Inspire self-confidence in others. A connector, vision, ideas, action. Love it. So spot on. Thank you for everybody that put some information in the chat, right? So we're talking about, how do I get to the point of wanting my brand to represent what I'm writing, right? Another one I'm going to jump to. Let's jump down to number 3. How do you want to be known, right? How do you want to be known? And this is one not for the chat, but think about it, right? And I don't want to talk about something morbid, right? But we're all going to leave here at some point, right? And if you're someone from your family, best friend, and they're talking about you, how do you want to be known? What's that lasting impression that you want, right? What makes people think of you? Okay, so now this is talking a little bit more about skill, right? For this one, I want you guys to put in the chat, what makes people think of you? Excuse me. What makes people think of you? I believe I saw go getter. I think that was Katrina earlier. She put tenacious, a go getter. So we'll start with that one. Leader. Love that, Brad. I love that too as well, Christina. People will always remember how you make them feel, regardless of anything else. That's right. Problem solver. Thank you, Deborah. We'll go maybe one more. There we go, Lisa. Want to be known as caring, creative, wise, and positive. Love that. So, tying this question into the very question, the last question I'm going to ask, and I'm not going to ask you to put it in the chat for me, but what value do you add? I'm going to repeat that. What value do you add? I'm going to be very transparent, right? Unless you work for yourself, right? If you work for an organization, the name on the front, and you're representing the name on the back, which is you and your brand, what value do you bring? So that means that you're going to have to start getting out of your comfort zone. Let's say you know something extremely well. I'm just going to use, let's say Excel, right? Let's say you're an expert at Excel. Why aren't you teaching others to be an expert in Excel? Those that you care about, right? That's an extra value that you're adding, right? I saw problem solver in the chat, right? What is it that you do to break down a problem? Do you chunk it so it's small and easy to digest so you can kind of hit the check marks and the next thing you know, you've solved that thing? What is the value that you add? Right? That's what I want everybody to think about, right? Value and versatility. You're exactly right, Allison, right? Being versatile. How can you impact something positively in the business, right? That's how employers look at your skill set. So let's talk about building your brand. This is very elementary, right? You're going to be able to see that as we go through these things. But step one, you got to brainstorm, right? What I mean by brainstorming, understand your why. Let me give you an example. I'll give you a personal example. So when I first started with this organization, which I've been a part of for 18 years now, right? I led a team and and our team was doing good, but I wanted to push some people, right? So I had them come up with what their why, what's their purpose, what makes you come to work, what is it the reason why you took the class that you took, the major that you took, the outlook on life that you had, but what is your purpose, right? Why are you part of this organization? Why did you take this class? Whatever those things may be. And I had them, we put that why in the center and all the things and descriptive words that make up that purpose. And here's what I came up with myself, right? This was a long time ago. I came up with, I wanted to be tenacious. I wanted to be a loving husband, a loving and caring son, but also wanted to be successful. And I put whatever success looks like. To this day, I still have that same exact thing in my wallet. And then I have all these traits around it, right? Tenacious, willing to outwork people, right? Ask questions, be curious. That was the circle around my why. Then guess what happened? I got married. I had a child. My why started to shift. Yes, that ultimate goal and the reason why I was doing everything now changed from myself to my family, being a role model, being a father, being a provider. But guess what the cool thing was? All those descriptive words still coincide directly with how that why or that goal might have changed or tweaked a little bit as I got older. Right. So that's what I want everybody to think about. That will drive your brand, something that you're passionate about. So we come up with your why. Step two, we're going to build and we're going to create this brand now, right? Set yourself apart positively or negative. And you're probably like, man, what is this guy talking about? Right. So from a positive standpoint, we can name 1,000 different things, right? Let's go even go back to Oprah, Michael Jordan, and Steve Jobs. We were able to recognize them based off of their logos. In some way, they made a positive impact, right? Jordan makes these fantastic clothing apparel. He was branched out. He's an entrepreneur. He owns his own brand with this largest conglomerate when it comes to sporting apparel, Nike, right? We look at Oprah. She created this television station. She's an icon. Some people believe if she ran for president, she could possibly be elected, right? She has this huge following. People are very passionate. You get a car, you get a car, right? Right around the holidays. Then you have Steve Jobs. He took all the music you could ever compile and put it in the palm of your hand, in a phone, in a mobile device for listening to music through iPods and iPads, those type of electronics to make life a little bit simpler. But in every positive example I can give you, I could also tie in a negative one, right? I'm not going to talk negative about those three people. I don't know them personally, but I'm sure you've heard and sort of things through the news, right? That each one of them at some point maybe have had a little bit of a blip. We all have blips. None of us are perfect, right? But you can control your brand positively or negative based off of your actions. I think someone has said in the comment, sometimes words don't tell the whole story. People will always remember how you made them feel. Same thing goes with now building and creating that brand and purpose. Okay. Number three, representing that brand, showing that brand off. In the chat, where do you think is some areas where you can show your brand and maybe the skill set and who you are as an individual? Resume, absolutely. Yeah. Don't let me forget to come back to that one, Brad, but resume for sure. Day-to-day interactions, content sharing, absolutely. LinkedIn portfolios, blogs, cover letters. Yeah. Everything you've named on here so far, I don't have any disagreement with. There you go. So home labs, I see there's a lot of doing your own research, right? Using technology to assist you and put things organizational wise for you. Very good. So let's go back to one, right? I think it was Brad who put resume in the chat. 1000%. I've worked with this organization for a very long time in talent acquisition and human resources recruiting world, right? And vetting and looking at candidates. And you think about a resume. What if I told you your resume, your LinkedIn bio, your description of yourself on LinkedIn is your personal movie trailer, right? So think about that. We all see movie trailers. They usually start hitting the airwaves depending on you're watching TV or streaming television. Tuesdays, right? Most movies come out on Thursday night, Fridays, right? If it's a big movie, it'll come out a couple weeks before. But there's so much anticipation. It keeps showing you these little exciting clips all the way through. Now think about your resume. Your resume lands in front of me. I have a stack of resumes. In those bullets that you present that resume, I want those short, quick hitting, exciting skill sets, tidbits, things you've accomplished that want to make me go, man, I got to pick up the phone and know more, right? Go back to the movie trailer example. Then you go to the movies, you spend 40 bucks, you're solo, you have a box of popcorn and a drink, and you're enjoying the show, right? On the resume side, now you have an opportunity to really showcase and go deep with your descriptions of your opportunities, the different places that you've worked, and how you're looking to grow your skill sets, right? That's your finalization of that trailer, right? Now those people get a chance to ask those questions and get to know you more, right? That's how you can really represent the brand. I also saw social media. Fantastic. I saw a lot of LinkedIn's. What if I told you your Pinterest, if you have a YouTube channel, um, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, any of those outward communications, let's say you're looking for an internship or a full-time opportunity. You have people that like your stuff, you have followers, you follow different individuals on all those sites. What if you just put, hey, I'm looking for a career opportunity in technology, software engineering, computer science, sales, marketing, digital marketing, cybersecurity, HR. If you have any connections or any insights for me, please direct message me. I guarantee you somebody will message you. And that's outside of your professional sites, right? When you're looking for an opportunity, your brand is everything. And the more you can showcase yourself, the more you can represent yourself. Okay. Number four is showtime. In my opinion, number three and number four are the hardest two, right? Building the brand, understanding the why, staying positive over negative. Those are fairly easy things if you think about it. We're emotional people, right? Things that happen in a day can make your emotions do this, right? So you have to be very diligent and conscious when you're talking about building a brand, representing yourself. I have a huge pet peeve. I'll let you guys all know. If I let you get out in front of me, or I let you walk, or I hold the door, a simple nod of a head, like a thank you, you don't even have to verbally say anything. But if you don't do that, it infuriates me. That's a simple, you didn't want to, that's fine. I'm still going to open the door for you. But I've had cases where my facial expressions, my nonverbal communication may tarnish that brand. That's why I say when it's showtime and living that brand is tough to do. As long as you always keep in the back of your mind, you're putting your best foot forward. You're playing for the name on the back of the jersey, which is yours. Okay. I'm going to pause and see if there's any questions so far before we jump into the next piece. Very good point, Daniel. I love that. You specifically, I know, talked about one profession, right? Lawyers, right? Sometimes get that negative brand. What if I even said this to you? Let's take away from even a lawyer's piece. What if I said salesperson? Depending on maybe how you grew up, maybe your interactions, you might think, oh man, used car salesperson. They're always going to try to haggle you, sell you something you don't need, right? Try not to understand you, right? That's another negative connotation. But guess what? That's your sometimes that might be your own personal view, right? Sometimes you have to remove yourself, take a step back, put yourself in the other person's shoes, right? For us, one of our cultural traits is called we are the they, putting ourselves into someone else's maybe perspective so that you can understand, right? So to your point, a lot of those may have a negative connotation, but that's a small part that makes up you as an individual, right? So think about this. What if I told you there's one thing that makes us all the same? And you think about this with your brain. Yes, we all need air. We all need water or some type of fluid, right? Our body's made up a lot of that, right? We need food, we need all those things, right? We need oxygen. What if I told you we all have 24 hours in our day? No one has 30, no one has 12, right? 24 hours. And what you do with those 24 hours. So an individual in the case, maybe being a salesperson, being a lawyer, being someone that might have a negative connotation, that's a very small portion of that individual. They still the perspective may be negative until you put yourself maybe in those shoes, and then you're like, oh, maybe this isn't so negative. Perception, which sometimes perception becomes reality, but I'm giving you that 24-hour similarity or comparison to let you know that's a very small portion of an individual, right? Go back to the brand and think about the why that we talked about. Mine has changed: father, son, spouse, partner, these things. Those are positive traits that are never going to go away, regardless of what I do for a profession, right? So keep that in mind, right? Is there anything in your career that would say stands out in a resume? Brad, I think that's a good that's a good question. If you apply to a specific position, understand that your resume should reflect some of the skill sets in that job description. I'll be very transparent. A lot of organizations use some form of an AI or an applicant tracking system. So sometimes it could be a human eye looking, or it could be a computer-based system that's looking for keywords. Now, I'll tell you, don't lie, because a recruiter or organization will ask you direct questions, and they'll be able to tell if maybe you fluffed your resume a little bit. But be honest with your skill set, but add some of those key components. Maybe rephrase different things that you've done from an experience standpoint to connect or be similar to what you see in a job description. That is a better entryway that I'll tell you than um, maybe having a resume that doesn't have any of the keywords or any of the best job descriptions or any of the experience that you're looking for, and they still applied, right? And then you look and see maybe they've applied to 6 or 7 different opportunities. Make sure you're taking care of yourself first, right? In this interview process, when you're talking about a brand, you want to know from the organization, if I bring my brand to you, how do you enhance my brand? Because I guarantee you on the employer side, we're going to be looking for those things, right? You're not going to do anything negative that's going to tarnish your own personal brand. So make sure you're thinking about that. It's a two-way street versus a one-way. So we've created our brand. We're doing our best to keep it positive and have this very positive outlook, right, on your skill set, who you are, what you can bring to the table. Now let's talk about how do you connect all those things, right? How do I take what I've created, the brand and image that I have out there for myself, and now offer those skill sets to an organization, a potential career, a whatever it is, right? Networking, right? What if I told you your network is your net worth, right? Your network is your net worth. I'll give you a very quick personal example, and I'm going to show you and how you can use the things around you. When I went to the university I went to Bowling Green State University in Ohio, right? I was a student athlete. And at the time, I had a girlfriend. She played an Olympic-based sport. She played softball, and I went to go see her play. And I met a gentleman that was sitting literally right beside me. He had a loved one on the other team, and we started to hit it off and just talking about just life and sport and what was bringing us there. At the end of the conversation, the guy looks at me and goes, "Hey, I'd love to come down and interview you tomorrow. Do you have some availability?" I was like, "Wait a second, wait, we just had about maybe an hour conversation. Now you want to come and talk to me, right?" So I met him. And by the end of that conversation, he's like, "I love you to come to Michigan and shadow." So I went up to his organization, I shadowed. And by the time the shadow was over, I got offered the opportunity on the spot, right? I got that because I met someone at an event that I had no clue I was going to meet. I forced myself to get out of my comfort zone once there was some more work-based questions asked, right? And that turned into a full-time opportunity that I was at for 6.5 years. Fast forward, I've been at Rocket now for 18. I got laid off from an opportunity, me and 60 other individuals. And at that point, where I was driving to where I was currently working was an hour and a half. And where they had an opportunity for me that I could have started on that next week was over 2 hours away. I decided to move forward at that point with Rock Financial, which is now Rocket. And I kind of freaked out. I literally picked up the phone, called someone that I used to work with, asked how they were doing, what they were doing. They were working in recruiting. This happened on a Friday. On Monday afternoon at 5 o'clock, I had another job opportunity because I picked up the phone, asked the question of, "Hey, are you looking for anybody right now within your organization? Do you have anybody I could talk to?" Through networking, right? So two opportunities. What is that? 20 some odd years of experience since graduation, right? And I got those two opportunities based off of who I know, not based off of maybe what my resume said, right? So think about who's in your network, right? The graphic is one that's very self-explanatory, right? Everyone's connected in some way, shape, or form. Someone knows someone that knows someone. So when you think of from a social standpoint, think about your social media outlets. I think we had that in uh, the chat earlier, right? So social media, use that. Use the volunteering groups, community service events that you're a part of. Don't hesitate to get out of your comfort zone at all. You think about maybe if you're going to school, if you're working currently, what professional organizations am I a part of? Do I have any mentors? Do I have any associates that I'm curious maybe what they do? School, teammates, classmates, organizational partners, sporting teams, any of those type of things. And then last but not least, your family, right? Groups and different orgs that maybe you're a part of. Take a step back. This is going to tie back to the very first building block that we talked about, building a personal brand. And now we're talking about networking that brand, right? If it's important enough for you to be a part of it, then it's important enough for you to understand the people who are a part of it and get to know them. You never know what doors could open for you or you could open for someone else. Remember, it's a partnership, it's a relationship, right? The connection. So if you're able to get out of your comfort zone, shut off the negative voices in your head, which I have tons of them all the time. Don't go there, turn left, no, go right, right? Those type of things. And get out of your own way. I guarantee you the networks that are around you and the resources you have around you are going to tie you to maybe a career, a long friendship, a relationship, whatever the case is. You just kind of have to take a deep pause and get out of your way a second, right? I'm going to pause and see what questions that you have. Let's see what we got here, Olivia. So here's what I want to tell you, Olivia. There's a little box on this last screen right here that I'm going to open up to some other questions. When you scan that, it should take you to all of my contact information, my email, my cell phone, my LinkedIn, my address, where I work in Detroit, right? But a way to connect with myself and our organization. I would love to connect with you first off on LinkedIn, right? In that LinkedIn connection, just talk to me a little bit about maybe some of the struggles. We can set up a time where we can chat one on one, or I can answer through chat too as well. Just give me some grace. But my contact information is there, right? Use me as a resource, just like you did by joining the call today. But I will tell you, don't give up. Keep pushing, right? The right opportunity will come, and it could probably be closer to you than really what you think. Are you conscious of asking that question of, hey, what do you do? Who do you know that might be helping me and be able to help me in this? I guarantee you somebody might have some possible avenues for you. Try that. And that's all I have.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. I'm going to just wait a minute and see if there's any other questions in the
Yeah.
chat. But I will say, too, to add to the comment and the conversation, you know, don't forget about your WGU network either. And so, one of the
One of the
reasons,
biggest.
yes, definitely one of the biggest. So, I know you mentioned like it's so hard to get through to recruiters, and I'm sure, Eric, you can talk about how many emails and connection requests, and we hear this a lot from recruiters nowadays. Our team
Yeah,
does. They're so
absolutely.
overwhelmed. They don't have time to get to everyone.
Mhm.
And so, I encourage you to look at alumni working at different organizations and see if you can get an
Yes.
in that way. So maybe not, still apply for the opportunity, like make sure you get into the system, right? You still have to.
Mhm.
But see if you can get in with alumni with referrals that way. And so I know someone said they don't have a network to speak of. This is where I challenge you to really take advantage of your WGU peers. We have WGU Connect now, which I'll add the links and send them in the email follow up as well. But WGU Connect connects you to faculty, staff, current students, and alumni. We also have a new tool called WGU Ask a Grad, where you can literally put a question out there and it'll match you up and send it to alumni. You don't even have to search for people, it will do that for you. And then, of course, LinkedIn, right? You can look up any company and find alumni that work there and connect with them directly. So,
There's two questions that I saw in the chat. If you don't mind, I definitely want
go,
to see if
go
I can
for it.
help out here. One was, I think it's, I'm going to try it. Julio. I hope I'm saying that correctly, right? And it was more along the lines of networking and getting out of your own space and struggling with networking and wanting to avoid it. I was just talking to my partner about this, and I told her, I said, I'm able to do what I do. I've been doing it a long time. I can present, but I'm really introverted. I would rather just sit silent by myself, watch TV, read something, and versus I call it being on, right? I tell you that, Julio, because you have to get out of your own way with networking. Don't be afraid to make eye contact with someone and smile, or look on LinkedIn, to the point that was just made, and look for maybe an organization, a common major, common organization that maybe someone's a part of. Message them directly and say, hey, I'm curious about what you do. How did you get involved in what it is that you do? Give people a little bit of grace. I guarantee you they'll give you a little bit of an avenue and give you a little bit more of that security that you're doing the right steps. But I will tell you, to network, you kind of do have to get out of your comfort zone a little bit. To physically walk up to someone, make eye contact, and stick your hand out and say, hi, I'm so and so, that takes a little bit of guts. But I will tell you, if you do it, it becomes simple. We are creatures that are made to communicate, right? So use that. Don't let that be the thing that holds you back. Trust me, don't let that be something that holds you back. So that was one, and then the other one, I'll look forward to the connection, Katrina. The QR code that we use, that's on the screen. My marketing team created that for me. Just a way for me to be able to share things digitally, since when you think about Rocket, we're this really a tech savvy organization that does a lot of things financially really, really well. So marketing team did that. Um, the advice, I saw one where you're more from a CNC machinist programmer and you're looking to get into cybersecurity, right? I'm gonna ask you a question. How many people know that you're looking to get into cybersecurity? Do you have a mentor? Why cybersecurity? Um, have you reached out to someone from WGU from an advising standpoint? Those are all connections. And I guarantee if you try some of those, that'll get the ball rolling. And then guess what happens? The guard's down, you're starting to network, you become peers or associates, and whoever's going to help you probably may become a friend to you or a mentor, right? So try those things. But then also feel free to connect with myself. So the last one, this is one that I thought was interesting. So Danielle, let's say you're in the middle age and have no network at all to speak of, right? How would you start? First off, I'm going to challenge you and say, do you not have any network? Do you not have any social media? I'm assuming that you have some, but you know what happens when you assume, right? So I would say that maybe try with some of your social media, right? That's a small network. If there's somebody on there that you trust and that's someone that you befriended, and talk to them about maybe what you're looking for. I will tell you right now, and I'm going to be very transparent. You want to have a set of uh, goals, your why. Wherever you go from an organizational standpoint needs to fit those things. It's not a one-way interrogation where you're getting bombarded with a bunch of questions and you have to answer them and they make a decision, right? You should be vetting that organization too as well. If you feel that like, hey, I'm too old for that organization, that could be an assumption. Jump in and see what their culture's like, right? See how they value their team members, right? How do they treat them? When you go to a career fair, when you go to an event, how are the representatives? Sometimes that's a definite tip of maybe how the culture is in some way, shape, or form, right? But find something that matches your core set of values. And those other things that you're not sure about, don't worry about them. So hopefully I was able to help you there a little bit too as well. I appreciate everybody. I know we're right about the close to the time. My contact information is there on the screen through the QR code. Don't hesitate to reach out, but don't hesitate also to use your resources and think about some of the things that we talked about today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Eric. And I do, sorry, before we sort of wrap it up, I know me and you have talked about this a little bit, but I think it kind of ends everything nicely. So when we talk about personal brand and then the networking piece, I know you and I have talked a little bit about the following up and the following
Yeah.
through
Yep.
and how important that piece is. So I don't know if you wanted to touch on that just a little
Yeah,
bit.
I sure can.
I
No, I sure that's very important. It's like, so what have I done? I've built a relationship. I've built this brand. I've given my personal movie trailer. I've networked. I've got an opportunity. Now I've applied. Now I sit there and I wait, right? There is usually an individual for every single opportunity. I know with our organization, I'll speak on that. So any position that you see on myrocketcareer.com, there is a recruiter attached to that. First off, give a little bit of grace. I would say after you apply, let's say if you don't hear something, and I'm going to give you an average. Let's say if you don't hear anything, maybe after 2 weeks, right? I would just there's going to be some form of contact, but I'd reach out, right? I would maybe send a message to the recruiter, send a message. There's usually like a little support type of a button or a link at most applications before you sign out that connects you to it or an email, and to say, hey, has there been a decision made on my information? Be organized, have what maybe you applied to, and those type of things, right? I would also then try to connect and see maybe what you see about that organization on LinkedIn. Maybe there's a job description, or if you even put in the job description, let's use software engineer as an example. You put software engineer. I usually say keep it about. It doesn't need to be an everyday thing. I would tell you it should be maybe every other week. So 2 weeks to start off, and then maybe every other week after that. I'm also one of those people, I'm aggressive, right? So I'm going to give you a twofold answer. I know right now you're thinking like, no, Eric, you said the right thing. Don't do that. You are at the ultimately trying to put your best foot forward without overdoing your welcome, right? So rule of thumb, first 2 weeks initially, maybe send some kind of reminder. Maybe try to find another connection within LinkedIn. Maybe give an individual that a call that's preferred and giving you all of their contact information. Wink, wink, wink. QR code, right? Give grace, but ask for maybe a response if that person can help you, if there's another avenue in, right? Don't be passive because sometimes when you're passive, maybe you get looked by, but be respectful. I say after the first 2 weeks, respond. And then after that, maybe every other week or maybe at the beginning of every week, right? Just to let them know that I'm still here. I'm still actively looking. But I would also tell you, don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? Find a couple different maybe positions or organizations with the same type of skill set. That way you have a variety of people looking at you, just like you're looking at them. Hopefully that answers that as well. My question.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. All right, well, big round of applause. And I say virtual applause.
Christina, don't get me in trouble. Don't get me in trouble. I see that.
Thank you so much, Eric, for all of the information you shared with us today. I did put in the My Rocket Career, the website. So if anyone
Thank you.
is curious about Rocket and opportunities, definitely check that out. And now you have a connection.
That's
So,
it. I appreciate it. If there's anything I can ever do for anybody on the call, just don't hesitate. Give me some grace, right? Especially if you're messaging me on LinkedIn, emails, that type of things. I would definitely do my best to get back to everything and answer any question you have, or at least point you in the right direction.
fantastic. And then, like I said earlier, don't forget to check out the rest of our Fall Career Quest sessions. I know there's a number coming up on networking too. Our career advisors also do lots of things on that too. So if you're curious or want to continue building on that, definitely check that out. And thank you all for coming. I did put the survey in the chat for our career team. So let us know what else you want to hear about, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. So thank you. All right.